Hey everyone, this is Eric B. Horn, and welcome to another session of the Career Clarity Virtual Summit. I hope that you have gained a lot of valuable information based off of the previous sessions that we've had. And this session is just as special as the previous ones based off of not only the topic, but the actual individual that is leading the session today. I would like to introduce a very good person, very good career professional, Segun Akiode. Long story short, let me give you a brief bio on who he is. He's a born teacher. He started out as a chemical engineer and segued into the strategic HR space. So it's kind of on the lines of what a previous session was with regards to changing careers, but he's done it gracefully and is impact in the area that he's in. He's also the host of the Career and Employability podcast, which is a very good podcast if you are a career professional. And also he's the author of the book Career Misfit, Immutable Career Lessons for Fresh Graduates. And this is the focus that I want to touch on today, because if you are a fresh graduate, you really don't know how to navigate your overall career. I think after you graduate, the main thing that you're thinking about is how can I get my first job so I can pay off my student loans, which is totally understandable. But a lot of college graduates or someone who's new to a particular field, if they don't know how to navigate throughout their career, they'll make a lot of mistakes. And based off of those mistakes, they can be looked upon as a misfit in some way, shape, or form. And a lot of times it's not the new career professional. They're not making these mistakes on purpose. They just really don't know. So what we're going to dig into today with Segun is to talk about him transitioning from a chemical engineer into the HR space, but most importantly, how not to be a corporate misfit. So Segun, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us on the Career Clarity Virtual Summit. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Eric. It's a great day. I'm excited to be on the Career Clarity Summit for today. And I want to believe that this is a rare opportunity. And I want to give you kudos for hosting this event. And I want to believe that a lot of value will be shared in the course of my session today.
No, I definitely appreciate that. I mean, the biggest piece is, and I've been telling people this throughout the entire summit, I mean, this isn't about me. It's about the individuals that I host and put them in a position to show their expertise and to, shed some light and give clarity to my audience. And also for me to learn also. I am also always a student also. So this is not just a woe is me or whatever the case may be. I mean, I have my notes right here, so I'm ready to take notes based off of how not to be a corporate misfit. But before we get into all of that, one of the things that I love to do is for my audience to gain a better understanding of the expert that I'm interviewing. So within maybe 30 seconds, who is Segun Akiode?
Okay, thank you. Segun Akiode, just as you read...
You can take a little bit longer than that. It's okay. So
I said, Eric, thank you. Just as you read my profile, Segun Akiode is a born teacher. That's how I like to describe myself. I like to describe myself because the central point of what I do on a daily basis is to share knowledge. I enjoy knowledge sharing. And the other bit of it is my transitioning from chemical engineering into human resources. And I'm a strategic HR professional and author. And just as you mentioned, I'm the author of the book Corporate Misfit. But if you want to sum up who Segun Akiode is, I'm a work in progress. One thing that is critical to me is the fact that I want to leave my footprint on the sand of time, meaning that when people look back, I want to be able to leave a legacy for my generation and generations to come so that they will be able to say, yes, somebody came through this path, and that was Segun Akiode. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great. And I love the fact that, you're still a work in progress. I mean, we all are, and a lot of people who may need some career help or some career guidance or whatever the case may be, they feel that, you know, you being in a position that you're in or me being in a position that I'm in, we're still not learning. And at the end of the day, we still make mistakes, we still learn, we still grow. So just, we may be a little bit ahead of the people that we serve, but at the end of the day, we're still reading and trying to get better. Like I said, I'm writing notes just based off of, you know, to give a better understanding of who you are, which is key. And based off of that, because you talked a little bit about how you transitioned from a chemical engineer to an HR professional, what was your overall motivation behind changing careers? Because those are two different worlds. And you may have a lot of people who are looking at this session right now and they're thinking about changing careers, but it feels that where they are and where they want to be is too far-fetched. So what was your motivation behind changing careers?
Okay, my motivation for changing careers started before I left the university. I went for a 5-year course, and in my 400 level, something started to crystallize. Fine, I read chemical engineering at that time. I was reading, completing my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. And the background story is that I wanted to do chemical engineering because I so much like chemistry. I'm good with maths, pretty good with calculation and analytical related courses. And I felt that was the course I needed to study. And it's important for me to also let you know about my background. In Nigeria, one of the critical things around people taking decisions around what courses to study is the fact that they tend to take that decision based on their primary school or college related experience. So that was exactly how I got into chemical engineering. So in terms of an educational goal, I wanted to do an engineering course. I narrowed down in chemical engineering because I felt I loved chemistry. At that time, I thought chemical engineering was about chemistry, but that was light years apart. At least the reality shock started coming on when I started doing the thermodynamics, the mass transfer, the heat transfers, and everything was coming just like that. And somewhere along the line, I enjoy extracurricular activities. I enjoy manpower development. I enjoy more like investing myself in people. And somewhere along the line, there was a little struggle that was happening. Yes, I wanted to find myself in the oil rig, practicing chemical engineering with my overall safety overall, safety boots and helmet. But something else was wired into my personality. And in my 400 level, that started to crystallize. I found myself leading my class in a particular course. And I found it that it was coming easier to me. So I started that journey of self-discovery, which eventually landed me into the fact that I would do better in things that had to do with humanities. I would do better in things that has to do with knowledge sharing. I would do better in things that has to do with helping organizations to solve a few things around the people issues. And gradually, after when I was done for my NYSC is a 1-year mandatory service, which everybody that goes to a university in Nigeria must go through.
Like
so during my NYSC service, I decided that I was not going to look for a chemical engineering job. So I went ahead. I found it easy to do CV writing. I found it easy to encourage people about career decisions. Yes, reason being that job search is a critical problem in Nigeria. Yes, it's critical all over the world, but Nigeria seems to have a peculiar nature. So that was a problem that was, let me say, frustrating around. I was determined to solve that problem. And maybe gradually it was wired into me to solve the problem. Because I remember even while I was in my final year, I taught my class, my final year students in my fellowship, how to design CVs. And till date, I've never paid anybody to design my CVs. And that was actually, it was something that was coming natural to me. I like to get myself in it. And gradually, I was tilted into chemical engineering that I got into human resources. I got my very first job by a proactive act. Proactive in the sense that I decided, I researched HR consulting firm in Nigeria, and I decided to say, I'm going to craft my CV to speak to them. And HR consulting was easier for me because consulting is an area that if you have analytical skills, you can easily blend into. Yes, I may not have the rudiment foundation at that time, but I had the 50%. That was the feedback I had even at the point of the interview to say, have you worked anywhere before? I said, no. All I had in my CV was actually extracurricular activities, things around manpower development, things around team, leading my team in class, some of the success I've been able to do. I do a lot of writing. So all of this culminated to the fact that I was able to put that into a CV, and I sent it to 3 consulting firms in Nigeria. I got a call from 2 of them for an interview, and I ended up working with one of them. And 8 weeks after my NYSC, I got my first job straight out of NYSC. So for me, it was like me trying to experiment a career change. And I did the work, did all the research, made sure I was suited for it, did a few personality tests, and it seems to be pointing in the direction that I was in the right way. And the story is down the line now. Is getting to 8 years, over 8 years down the line now. I'm enjoying myself in human resources.
No, that's great, because the biggest pieces that I heard was, well, the main thing is you took a proactive approach, and you also took what you, well, first of all, you didn't look at what you didn't have. You looked at everything that you did have and strategically put that in your CV or your resume, and you leverage what you did know to get you in the overall door. And that's a concept that, so many people don't take, right? They solely depend on their degree, which the degree will get you to the door. But at the same time, for you to actually get in the building and interview with the right people and then also get the job, it takes a lot of, we call it sweat equity, meaning it puts a lot of work into getting the job. And, what I love about your story even more is you didn't look at, all right, I'm just a chemical engineer. You looked at yourself as a professional, and you looked at ways on how you could help other people. But the biggest piece is to solve a problem. And that is so key when it comes to whether you're an entrepreneur or you are a career professional. What overall problem are you trying to solve? If you clearly define that, and then your activities surround it, just like you'll have people that are willing to hire you right out of what we call it an internship in America, but it's the same thing, but based off of, because most people, once they get an internship, they're very lucky if they get hired from that job. But from you, like I said, based off of your proactive approach, and once again, leveraging what you do have as opposed to not looking at what you don't, it puts you in a position where you are the best candidate, which is great. I love it. So there's so many, actionable steps based off of why you transition that, my viewers need to view. And I love it. I wrote down a lot of stuff on what I need to do, even as not an entry-level professional, but once again, what you said, they're tangible takeaways that anyone in their career could reapply, which is great. So now since you've given us, tangible steps and valid reasons on why you transition from, a chemical engineer to an HR professional. Now let's talk about Corporate Misfit. Now, once how I met you, I remember I was on Twitter and looking at career professionals, and I noticed your book, and it instantly stood out because, in corporate, you want to blend in, or you want to contribute, regardless of what you're doing, right? But using corporate and misfit, those words, they go together to the point where they stand out to say, okay, and you ask yourself, am I a corporate misfit? Because people instantly think that being a misfit is bad. But after having conversations with you and looking at your Twitter feed, being a misfit can just be someone who makes mistakes based off of not knowing, right? That's why your book is perfect. But based off of all of that, what inspired you to write Corporate Misfit?
Okay. Permit me to just show.
Plug away. Bring the book up higher. People need to see it. I want people to definitely see it. Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at this book, that's the cover speaks a lot into what exactly this book is about. Now, Corporate Misfit is more like me sharing my story. The story I just shared with you, there are about 10 chapters in the book, and each of the chapters of the book opens up with my personal story, in the sense that everything in Corporate Misfit is something I have worked on. My transition from chemical engineering into human resources is a typical example. And what a misfit in itself. I know it's a play of word. How can you be in corporate and be a misfit? So when you say a misfit, misfit is something that does not fit in. So it means if you have a square hole in a round, a square peg in a round hole, it's not fitting. Now, if you discard the peg just because it's not fitting into the hole, you may be making a mistake to say that the peg is useless. No. Now, when you are a corporate misfit, it means you do not possess what it means to fit in the corporate world. One, for the fact that you didn't know where you're fitted into, meaning that if you don't know the purpose, so if you feel, not everybody is cut out to be in corporate,
right?
As it is. But if you don't understand, you may be making yourself to do things that you're not fitted to do. Now, I mentioned earlier on to say that corporate misfits stem from my own environment in Nigeria. Now, if I can tell you for free to say that there are thousands and millions of people in Nigeria currently doing courses or currently practicing what they never studied in university. In Nigeria, you know, comedy, for example, there is a particular comedian in Nigeria that is currently practicing comedy. In the actual sense of it, he didn't start out with comedy. There are a lot of them. There is a particular successful publisher in Nigeria, for example. He writes a very popular, world-acclaimed international magazine, and he read language, Yoruba language, in the university. So there's a particular story of a particular Nigerian that is a doctor. He read medicine and is currently one of the top bakers when it comes to cakes, wedding cakes, and a lot of things. So I'm coming from an environment where people are frustrated in thinking that there's a straight-jacketed way to do things, not understanding that if you force yourself to be who you are not, then you're going to be a misfit. Right. So if you now find yourself in the corporate world, then you are actually a misfit. So the book is trying to give a roadmap, and it is focused on fresh graduates to say, you don't have to leave the university before you realize some certain things. So looking at my story, I started making that decision before I left the university. A larger percentage of such individuals around there make that mistake of waiting till when they are done with their BSc program, when they are done with their NYSC program, and they want to start to say, I'm looking for a job or I'm looking for a career, forgetting that that decision should have been taken while you're going through university. Exactly. So that's exactly, so corporate misfit is about mind preparation. My corporate misfit is trying to say that, yes, we say there is an high rate of job unemployment in Nigeria. I help organizations to solve talent issues. And I found out that there are enough jobs that I'm trying to fill for my client as we speak, and we're not finding the right people to fit those jobs. Not because they don't have the requisite skills, but because when you're speaking to them, you notice a disconnect in the fact that these individuals are struggling. So if you are not comfortable in who you are, you know, research has found that individuals that do well in the workplace are people that are able to find a career suited to who they are. So Corporate Misfit is trying to explore that world and give a roadmap as to how do you come from doing what you don't like to move into a job that you like. And that's exactly the story of Corporate Misfit.
Nice, nice. And hold the book up again. I just want to give, you know, definitely a plug. You can purchase this on Amazon. It's definitely get it. It's a lot of value in that book. Definitely get it. Yeah, definitely hold the book up. I'm glad you did that. I'm definitely glad you did that. So to go a little bit deeper into Corporate Misfit, once again, if I'm a college graduate and I'm looking at this session right now, so I'm to the point where it's like I don't want to make any mistakes, and sometimes people get so afraid of making a mistake, they don't make a move at all, right? So if I'm a college graduate or soon to be college graduate, because I know you talked about that also, what are 3 ways that a college graduate can avoid becoming a corporate misfit?
Okay, one is on the first place to start from is the place of self-discovery. Okay. Now, your career should be a natural extension of who you are. Your career should be a natural extension of who you are. It would be suicidal to make a career choice based on your environment, or based on what your parents say, or based on what your peers say. Individuals that do that tend to struggle down the line. I've had situations of individuals completing a BSc program, a bachelor's degree program, and going up to their parents to say, this is what you want me to study. Take your certificate, I'm going into music. Take your certificate, I'm going into acting. We've seen enough examples of that around. And it means that the very first thing you must get right is understanding that your career should be an extension of who you are. So you need to start from the place of self-discovery. Socrates says, man, know thyself. Now, there are a lot of free tools online that you could get to find out a little bit about yourself. And some of those personality tests give near accurate results, at least to a very large extent, which helps you to understand what kind of individual am I? That's number one. Number two, now what expression of that individual, which organization or which workspace would that individual express itself the most? Now, according to, there's a quote that says that find a job you love and you never work a day in your life. Right. Now, meaning that if you understand yourself, there is a work environment that suits who you are. Yeah. Meaning that there are individuals that are caught out for corporates, there are individuals that are caught out for entrepreneurship, and there are individuals that are caught up for in between, ability to juggle the balls. So there are some individuals that will still be in corporate, in the workplace, and they're still doing the entrepreneurial also. You need to understand, after understanding yourself, what expression, where will I find the best expression? That's the second thing. And the third thing is the point of view now going ahead to express yourself. So if you are cut out for corporate, then that means you need to have how to project yourself as the best candidate. So we're talking about the marketing tool when it comes to career, talking about your resume, talking about being successful at interviews, talking about your online presence. So those 3 things are critical. 1, you need to discover who you are. 2, you need to decide where is my individual, what I've discovered about myself, where will I find the best expression? And 3, then I need to go to tell everybody that you are the best guy. And I think that's the 3 major things, just trying to make it simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. And I'm glad you did make it simple, because a lot of, the keys to being successful are just simple steps, but some way down the road, we overcomplicate things. And once we overcomplicate things, we tend to stop. So I'm definitely grateful that you broke it down into 3 steps that someone who's a college graduate or soon to be college graduate can do right now. Because a lot of times people, it's so overwhelming, I don't know what my first move is. Well, he's giving you 3, guys. So definitely dig into those 3. So we've talked about your transition from being a chemical engineer to an HR professional, you being a successful author and the inspiration behind being an author. You've given the audience 3 tips on how to avoid being a career misfit, which is a wealth of information within itself. But I'm always big on forward movement. I mean, these are the things that you have done, but what's next for you, specifically when it comes to your HR practice? What do you have up and coming so I can support it, and also the viewers of this session can support you on your future endeavors?
Okay, what's next for me? I know, I think I need to take a pause on this, because I believe I take each day as they come. I have projections. Projection in the sense that my HR practice, I'm currently in independent consulting. And before now, my open house trainings used to be quarterly. Earlier this year, we started to attend every month
Nice.
open house trainings, which means that every other month, every month, there are going to be trainings that are going to be coming up. Now, interesting is the fact that my own area of HR is around compensation and benefits, total rewards management, talking about salaries and the rest. So I do a lot of trainings in that area. In the career space, I'm a man of many parts. So pardon my describing all the various areas.
No, please.
In the career space, my podcast, Career and Employability Talk, is there. This year, I hope to do more interviews. Maybe I should let you know also that a couple of weeks back, the episode I recorded with Eric is currently live on the website.
Hey.
So 5 ways you can find career clarity, 5 ways to find clarity in your career. So that's up. I'm going to be doing more interview sessions, guest interviews, and I'm getting a few international referrals, or let me say requests. That's how Eric got on the podcast. So we're going to be doing a lot of that.
Nice.
And sometime later in the year, I'm still tinkering around a career summit. It's going to be a physical, not virtual like this, which we're going to be bringing up later. Because interestingly is the fact that Corporate Misfit was written to give out to fresh graduates for free. Meaning that while the book was published, the whole idea is to give as many copy out. But from the business perspective, somebody needs to pay for it.
Exactly.
So this year, I'm going to be doing a lot of such. At least I believe that is giving back to the society. So it means that for every event I do later this year, or I'm invited to, I've made it a personal decision to always give out free copies of the book. So in a way, that's just the few next step in the works.
Well, that's good. And I mean, the people don't understand the strategy behind giving away a book, right? Because at the end of the day, if you give the book may cost maybe $7 to $10, okay? Yeah. But if you give that book away for free to someone who needs your services, and then they read your expertise, that $10 or $7 giveaway will turn into a pretty good contract in a sense, because as one of the things that I've learned was you charge more based off of how people have access to you, right? So for example, if it's a book, it's $7 to $10, but if someone wants coaching, that's $1,000 a month, or maybe even more than that. $1,000 a month is kind of low on the low end, but still. So it makes sense to what's a $10 trade-off for a $1,000 client, right? But a lot of people are just so holding their money and getting to the point where they say, well, I know I have to sell every book. No, not necessarily, but because if you get to that point, you just sell the book. Then if you don't have anything else to offer, whether if you're a consultant or a coach or any type of professional, you're bottlenecking yourself, especially if, like for you, which hopefully the summit that you are going to put on later on this year, let's say if it's 200 people, right? That's 200 people, you give away 100 books, that may be 100 new clients down the line, So you think for the long term. So I'm glad that you're doing it. I mean, there'll be a lot of people who's viewing this that may disagree with giving away a book for free, but at least we're both on the same page, and we understand the not longevity, but how it can benefit in the long run. So I'm always respectful for people's time. So I definitely wanted to say thank you for your time, your effort, letting us know a little bit more about you personally, more about how you transition professionally, how you're thriving now, how you're still moving in the right direction. And most of all, which is the biggest piece that I wanted people to hear, how not to be a corporate misfit, but once again, it may be just simple mistakes that someone has made. They didn't know that they made them, but at least now it brings it to the forefront based off of them being self-aware and say, okay, this is the mistake that I made.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to first not make this mistake in the future, but even more importantly, learn from it so I can, gain something from it. So definitely, appreciate your time. I know my audience will enjoy this session. Did you have any last words before signing off?
Okay. Thank you very much, Eric, for having me. And I want to be able to tell each person watching this and joining in at this time to say that it's your life and nobody is going to help you to live it. You need to decide what's the impact I want to leave. So life, it's not about the acquisition of wealth, it's about fulfillment. And if getting the right career decision, getting clarity in your career would lead you to the fulfillment that you desire in life, then I would advise you, I would admonish you to make sure that you get that clarity, make sure that you fulfill purpose. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. And one last thing, someone who's looking at this session, how can they get in contact with you? How can they follow you on social media? They want to connect with you on LinkedIn. How can someone connect with you after looking at this session?
Okay, I would direct you to my website. My website is segunakiode.com, segunakiode.com. And on Twitter, you can follow me at Segun Akiode. Virtually, if you would Google my name, Segun Akiode, you would land on my website, land on my social media profile, and I'm Segun Akiode everywhere.
And I'll also have this in the description so they can just click on the link so they can follow you instantly. So once again, guys, thank you for taking the time out to view this session on the Clear Clarity Virtual Summit. You have a good day, guys.
Cheers.